There is a strange and almost paradoxical law that governs human relationships, a law that does not emerge from logic or reason, but from the shadow depths of the psyche. You have felt it, though perhaps you could not name it. It is the magnetic tension between the light of the empath and the unspoken resentment of those who secretly wish to extinguish that radiance. Why is it that the soul that gives, that heals, that perceives with a heart unguarded, so often draws near to those who seem unsettled by its very presence? Why is the one who feels most deeply, the one who is misunderstood, envied, or even quietly hated? This is not coincidence. It is not fate in the simple sense. It is an alchemical reality woven into the unconscious dynamics between the self and the other. Empathy is not just a personality trait, it is a manifestation of what I call the self, the totality of all psychic contents, both conscious and unconscious. When someone is truly empathic, they are not merely sensing emotions or reading the invisible language of energy. They are allowing themselves to become a vessel through which the collective unconscious can speak. Such a person is luminous, not because they try to be, but because the very act of openness creates a field of awareness that others feel in ways they cannot articulate. And yet, there is a cost to such light. Wherever there is light, the shadow sharpens its edges. You may have noticed this when you walk into a room with your quiet presence. The atmosphere shifts. Some people are drawn to you as if to a sacred flame. Others, however, react with subtle irritation or hidden contempt. They may smile, but their energy contracts. They may admire you on the surface, but deep inside, they harbor resentment. What is this hidden hostility? Why does your mere existence stir a discomfort they do not fully understand? The answer lies in the archetype of the shadow. Every person carries a shadow. That dark container of all we refuse to see or accept within ourselves. When someone encounters an empath, they are confronted not only with the warmth of light, but with the uncomfortable contrast between what they are and what they wish they could be. The empath's light, that authenticity, that natural openness, exposes the other's hidden wounds, the unhealed aspects they have buried. This is why resentment arises. It is rarely about you as a person. It is about what you reflect to them, what you awaken within them. Your presence acts like a mirror, showing them both the longing for wholeness and the fear of their own suppressed darkness. I've often said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. The empath transforms others simply by being. But transformation is not always welcome to the one who is not yet ready to face their shadow. Your light feels like a silent accusation. They may feel diminished in your presence. Not because you belittle them, but because your authenticity reveals the artificial masks they wear. It is as though their psyche whispers, you are not living your truth. And instead of listening, they project that discomfort onto you. They resent you for being what they cannot yet be whole. Vulnerable. Awake. There is also a deeper psychological mechanism at play, one that is both fascinating and dangerous. The empath is often the archetype of the wounded healer. The reason you can feel so deeply is not because life spared you, but because you have known pain, perhaps in forms that left invisible scars. Your light is not naive. It is born from a long journey through your own darkness. Others sense this subconsciously. They sense that you hold a key, a knowledge of suffering, transformation, and renewal. Yet, instead of seeking to learn from you, many will attempt to siphon your energy or even to dim it. This is the paradox. Your very gift makes you a target. Consider the image of the sun. It gives life, warmth, clarity, but not everyone welcomes the sun. For some, it is too bright, too exposing. They crave shadows, because shadows hide the truth. In the same way, an empath's energy can feel invasive to those who are not ready to be seen. They may call you too sensitive or too emotional, but what they really mean is that your sensitivity unmasks what they desperately try to conceal. And here lies the secret resentment. They are both drawn to your light and threatened by it. It is as if they want to stand near the warmth of the fire but cannot bear the illumination that comes with it. In my work with dreams, I have often encountered symbols that reveal this dynamic. A dream might present a figure of the luminous child, a radiant being that shines with purity and truth. But alongside it, there is often the shadow figure, the envious sibling, the dark twin, the trickster who tries to extinguish that light. This is the eternal motif of the light bearer and the shadow, of the hero and the adversary in your waking life. You may find this symbol playing out in the form of relationships where you feel drained, misunderstood, or quietly sabotaged. It is not because you are wrong or flawed, but because you are a living embodiment of that luminous archetype. And wherever such light exists, the shadow rises to meet it. I invite you to reflect. Have you ever noticed how some people seem inexplicably irritated by your kindness? As though they interpret your generosity as a kind of judgment against them. This is projection. They see in you what they cannot accept in themselves. Perhaps they resent their own inability to feel deeply, to connect authentically, to live without the armor of pretense. And so, rather than face their own discomfort, they project it outward. You become the too much, the one who tries too hard, the one who feels too intensely. But the truth is, they are not rejecting you. They are rejecting the mirror you hold up to their soul. To live as an empath is to walk the razor's edge between light and shadow. Your sensitivity is both your strength and your vulnerability. It allows you to see the unspoken, to touch the unseen currents of emotion that run beneath the surface of ordinary life. But it also means you will encounter resistance. People will love you for your warmth, but some will resent you for your radiance. This is not your fault. It is simply the way the unconscious reacts when confronted with a force that awakens it. The key is not to dim your light to please others, but to understand the alchemy at play. When you see resentment in someone's eyes, know that it is not a verdict against you, but a sign of their own inner conflict. I will tell you something that may surprise you. The people who resent your light the most are often those who secretly yearn for it. They are drawn to you because you remind them of a part of themselves they have lost. You stir in them a longing for authenticity, for freedom, for emotional depth. But because they are afraid of their own wounds, they turn that longing into anger, jealousy, or quiet hostility. This is why so many empaths find themselves in relationships, whether romantic, familial, or professional, where they are both admired and subtly undermined. The empath, unaware of this dynamic, often takes it personally. You may think, what have I done wrong? Why do they treat me this way when all I want is harmony? But this is not about what you have done. It is about what you are. You see, the unconscious is not rational. It does not measure things in fairness or logic. When someone's shadow is stirred, they do not pause to ask, is this resentment truly mine, or am I projecting it? They simply feel it, often without knowing why, and you, the empath, stand there bewildered, sensing the tension that is never spoken but always present. This is the hidden cost of being attuned to the subtle layers of reality. You feel what others do not want to feel. You absorb the unspoken hostility, the quiet judgments, the half smiles, and the veiled remarks. Sometimes you even begin to believe them. You start to think that perhaps your light is too much, that perhaps you should shrink, speak less, carry less, feel less. But that is precisely the trap that the unconscious sets when it is not understood. If you shrink, you betray yourself. If you dim your light, you sever your connection to the very essence that makes you whole. Let us look deeper into why empaths attract those who secretly resent their light. In analytical psychology, relationships are often the theater where the unconscious plays out its most intense dramas. When two people meet, it is not just their conscious selves that interact their unconscious minds. Their archetypes, their hidden complexes all begin to dance together. The empath often carries the archetype of the anima or animus, the inner feminine or masculine principle that represents emotional depth, intuition, and soulfulness. When someone encounters this archetype outside themselves, in the form of an empathic individual, they are drawn to it because it feels like a missing part of their soul. Yet, if they have rejected that part within themselves, they also feel an instinctive anger toward it. It is as if your existence challenges them to face the parts of themselves they have locked away. And not everyone is ready for that confrontation. There is another dynamic that is worth exploring, the archetype of the martyr. Many empaths often unconsciously take on the role of the one who suffers, so that others may feel better. This is not because you want to be a victim, but because you have been conditioned, perhaps from childhood, to believe that love is earned through sacrifice. You may have grown up in an environment where your sensitivity was both a gift and a burden, where you were praised for caring but criticized for feeling too much. Over time, you learned to prioritize others' emotions over your own, to give even when it drained you, to absorb pain in silence. This creates a pattern that the unconscious recognizes. You become a vessel for other people's projections, both good and bad. They admire you for your warmth. But they also unload their shadows onto you. They resent your light because it reminds them of their own darkness. Yet, they also depend on you to soothe that darkness. This is the double bind in which many empaths find themselves trapped. Imagine a dream in which you are holding a candle in a dark room. Around you are figures, some reaching out to you for warmth, others trying to snuff out your flame. This is not just a dream, it is a symbol of your life's journey. The candle is your empathy, your inner light, your ability to see beyond appearances. The figures are the people you encounter, some who see your light as hope, others who see it as a threat, and you, the dreamer, must decide, will you guard that flame, or will you let it flicker and die under the weight of others' resentment? This is the question that life continually asks of empaths. It is not about becoming harder or colder that would only turn you into what you are not. It is about becoming more conscious. To hold the candle without being burned by the shadows, it illuminates. You must understand that the resentment you face is not personal. It is archetypal. It belongs to a universal pattern that has existed for centuries. Look at history, at myth, at religion. The bringers of light have always been misunderstood, envied, even persecuted. Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to give to humanity, was punished endlessly for his gift. Christ, who embodied compassion and truth, was crucified by those whose hearts could not bear his light. The prophet, the healer, the visionary, they have always stood on the edge of acceptance and rejection. Your life may not carry such dramatic weight, but the principle is the same. When you embody light, you reveal darkness. And not everyone welcomes that revelation. I tell you this not to frighten you, but to awaken you. The empath who understands this dynamic ceases to take it personally. You begin to see resentment as a signpost, a signal that your presence has touched a nerve, stirred something in the unconscious of another. You stop asking, what is wrong with me? And instead ask, what is this showing me about them and about myself? Because yes, even as an empath, you carry your own shadow. Sometimes you may feel superior in your sensitivity, as though your ability to feel makes you purer or wiser than others. Beware of this temptation. It is subtle, but it can create an unconscious arrogance that others sense and resent. The key is humility, to hold your light not as a weapon or a badge, but as a natural expression of who you are. Now let us turn inward. Why do you, as an empath, attract these challenging dynamics? It is not just because of what you are, it's also because of what you believe. Deep down, many empaths hold an unconscious belief that they must fix others, that they are responsible for healing the wounds of the world. This belief, noble as it may seem, can become a magnet for those who are unwilling to take responsibility for their own healing. They are drawn to you like moths to a flame, sensing that you will carry their burdens, absorb their pain, and ask for nothing in return. But this is not true empathy, this is self-erasure. True empathy does not require you to sacrifice your essence. It requires you to witness and understand without losing yourself The moment you confuse your light with the duty to heal everyone, you become trapped in relationships where resentment festers, both theirs and yours. There is an image that comes to me often when I think of this dynamic. It is the image of a garden. The empath is like a garden filled with fragrant flowers, a place of beauty and nourishment. People come to this garden, some to appreciate it, some to take from it, and some, tragically, to trample it out of envy. The garden does not choose who enters, but it can choose how it is tended. You must learn to tend your inner garden, to set boundaries, like a fence, not to keep everyone out, but to ensure that only those who respect your light can enter. This is not selfishness, this is self-respect. Without it, your light will dim, not because others have taken it, but because you have given it away without care. I know this may sound abstract, but let us make it concrete. Think of a time when someone's resentment pierced you like a knife. Perhaps they mocked your sensitivity, dismissed your feelings, or tried to make you feel small. What did you do? Did you shrink? Did you apologize for being who you are? Or did you hold your ground? Quietly, but firmly, knowing that their reaction was not truly about you. This is the test of the empath. To stand in your truth without closing your heart. To see the shadow without being swallowed by it. The shadow of others is not your enemy, but it is not your responsibility to carry it. Your role is not to make everyone comfortable. If your light unsettles someone, that is their path to walk. You are not here to dim yourself, to ease their discomfort. In fact, your very presence might be the catalyst they need to awaken, though you may never see the result. The unconscious works in mysterious ways, often taking years or decades to reveal its transformations. You may never know how your light has changed someone, but trust that it does. There is a profound loneliness that often accompanies the life of an empath. It is the loneliness of being seen, yet not understood, of being loved for your light, but not for your humanity. People may seek your presence because they feel safe in your warmth, yet they rarely ask who protects the protector, who heals the healer. You, with your open heart, may find yourself surrounded by those who take and take, never realizing that the well they drink from is not infinite. And in moments of silence, you may wonder, why do I feel so drained? Why does my giving not always lead to connection? This, too, is a manifestation of the hidden resentment I speak of. Those who resent your light will often unconsciously try to take it, believing that if they can possess what you have, they will feel whole. But wholeness cannot be borrowed. It can only be discovered within. The psyche of those who resent your light is often tormented by what I call the shadow ideal. This is the internalized sense of what they wish they could be kind, compassionate, free, but have disowned. When they see you living with that authenticity, their shadow ideal stirs, and instead of saying, "Teach me," they say, "How dare you?" It is a strange kind of envy, a bitter awareness that they are living behind walls of fear while you, with all your imperfections, dare to live unmasked. This is why the empath often becomes the target of subtle emotional games, of passive-aggressive comments, of the kind of rejection that wounds the spirit. But you must remember these reactions are not truly about you. They are about the battle raging within the other person. A battle they are not yet willing to face. You may ask, but why me? Why do I always seem to attract such dynamics? The answer is both simple and profound, because your light is not neutral. It is magnetic. The unconscious of others recognizes on some primal level that you hold a key they have lost. Some will approach you with gratitude, others with hunger, and still others with hostility. But all of them are responding to the same force, your connection to the self, the living archetype of wholeness. This is why I say that to be an empath is to live as a kind of psychological alchemist. You are constantly transmuting the raw energies of others, their fear, anger, and sorrow into something that can be understood and healed. But alchemy is dangerous when practiced unconsciously. If you are not aware, you will absorb what is not yours. You will confuse their shadow with your identity. You will begin to feel that you are the problem, that your sensitivity is a curse rather than a gift. I want you to imagine for a moment the image of the mirror. You are like a mirror to others, reflecting not only their beauty but also their hidden wounds. Some will thank you for this reflection. Others will despise you for it. But the mirror is not responsible for the image it reflects. This is one of the hardest lessons for an empath to learn. You cannot take ownership of the projections others place upon you. When they resent your light, it is because your light has revealed something they are not ready to face. This is not your burden. Your task is simply to remain clear, to remain true, to polish your inner mirror so that it reflects with compassion but without distortion. Dreams often show this dynamic in symbolic form. A dreamer may see themselves carrying a lantern through a dark forest, while figures emerge from the shadows, some reaching for the light, others trying to snuff it out. The lantern is the dreamer's own consciousness, the fragile flame of awareness that illuminates the unconscious. Those shadowy figures are not enemies in the true sense. They are the unintegrated aspects of the self. In waking life, these aspects are often projected onto others. When someone resents your light, they are really wrestling with their own inner darkness. And in that moment, you become both a threat and a teacher, whether you wish to or not. There is a temptation, especially for those who feel deeply, to respond to resentment by becoming smaller. You think, if I am less bright, less open, perhaps they will not be threatened. But this is a betrayal of your essence. Your light is not a weapon, but neither is it something to hide. It is the natural radiance of a soul that has walked through the fire and emerged whole. Do not confuse humility with self-erasure. True humility is to shine without demanding that others see you. To love without demanding to be loved in return. To give without losing your core. The path of the empath is not an easy one, because it requires you to live in the tension of opposites, to hold both light and shadow, love and pain, connection and solitude. But it is also a path of profound meaning. In my own work, I've seen that those who feel most deeply are often those called to the work of individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating all parts of the psyche. Empaths are particularly suited to this journey because they have already learned to navigate the currents of emotion and intuition. Yet, individuation also demands that you set boundaries, that you claim your right to exist as you are without apology. If you do not, you will remain trapped in cycles of being both adored and resented, giving endlessly until you are empty. Consider the archetype of the healer. In myths and stories, the healer is rarely someone untouched by pain. Rather, so the healer is one who has been wounded and has found a way to transform that wound into wisdom. This is why your light is so powerful. It is forged from suffering, from the places where you have bled and wept and endured, but others do not see the journey. They only see the glow, and sometimes that glow triggers their own unhealed wounds. They may resent you, not because you are perfect, but because your survival reminds them of their own unacknowledged strength. It is as if they are saying, how can you shine when I am still trapped in the dark? This is not something you can fix. It is something you must simply witness, with compassion, but also with detachment. I urge you to ask yourself, what does my light represent to those who resent me? What archetype do I awaken in them? Is it the inner child who longs for love but has never received it? Is it the shadow self that despises vulnerability? Is it the hidden potential that they fear to express? When you understand this, you cease to take their reactions personally. You begin to see the deeper game, the play of the unconscious, the dance of projections and archetypes. And in that awareness, you find freedom. There is also the question of your own shadow. Yes, even the empath has a shadow. Perhaps yours is the fear of being selfish, the terror of being seen as unkind. Perhaps you give and give because you are afraid of what will happen if you stop. Will they still love you if you are not always the one who understands, who forgives, who bends? The resentment you attract from others often mirrors the resentment you hold against yourself. The resentment for all the times you have silenced your own needs, dimmed your own voice, betrayed your own boundaries. This is why the work of self-awareness is so vital. You must not only see the shadows of others, but also your own. There is a sacred turning point in the life of every empath. A moment when you realize that your light is not meant to be spent recklessly, but cultivated like a flame that grows brighter with care. You begin to see that not everyone who reaches for you deserves access to your innermost self. This is not cruelty. It is discernment. For too long, you may have thought that being kind meant saying yes to every request, every demand, every subtle tug on your spirit. But when you live this way, you become a hollowed out vessel, giving without receiving, shining without replenishment. Those who secretly resent your light will gladly take from you until you are dimmed. Not because they are evil, but because they do not know how to nourish their own inner fire. And the empath's true lesson is not to keep feeding this cycle, but to stand firm, to honor the truth that your light is sacred. To live in this awareness is to move beyond the unconscious pattern of savior and victim. You are not here to save everyone. You are not here to carry their pain as if it were your own. Empathy does not mean losing yourself. It means seeing clearly, feeling deeply, and responding with wisdom. There is a difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. Compassion flows from wholeness, from the understanding that every soul must face its own shadow. Self-sacrifice, however, often flows from wounds, from the belief that you must give everything to be worthy of love. The more conscious you become, the more you see this distinction. You begin to recognize when someone's resentment is a mirror of their own self-hatred, when their rejection is a projection of their unhealed wounds. And instead of shrinking, you learn to stand in stillness, neither fighting nor absorbing, simply holding your ground. The archetype of the empath, when fully matured, becomes the archetype of the sage. The sage does not fear the resentment of others because they know it is part of the soul's alchemy. They understand that the shadow must resist before it can transform. You are being called to this path of maturity, to step beyond the need to be liked, beyond the fear of being misunderstood. When you do, you begin to see the hidden beauty in even the most difficult dynamics. That person who resents your light is not your enemy. They are, in a strange way, your teacher. They show you where your boundaries need to be stronger, where your sense of self needs to be clearer, where your own shadow still hides. I recall the myth of the hero's journey. For every empath is on such a path. The hero is always called to leave the comfort of the known, to enter the wilderness of the soul. Along the way, the hero meets both allies and adversaries, but often the adversary is the one who teaches the greatest lessons. When you face resentment, you are being asked to claim your strength, to hold your light, not as a fragile candle, but as a torch that cannot be easily extinguished. This does not mean becoming hard or defensive. It means standing in your essence with quiet confidence, knowing that your worth is not determined by how others react to you. Your light is not only for others, it is also for you. Have you ever considered that? So often, empaths live outwardly, pouring energy into everyone else, but rarely turning that same warmth inward. Your soul longs for your own attention. It longs for moments where you sit in silence and let your own heart speak, where you honor your own dreams, your own needs, your own fears. Because just as others have shadows, so do you. And within your shadow lie treasures, your hidden power, your unclaimed desire, your true voice. When you begin to integrate these parts of yourself, you become less affected by the resentment of others. You see it for what it is, a sign of their own disconnection, and you no longer feel the need to fix it or prove yourself. There is a dream that visits many empaths, even if not literally, but symbolically. In this dream, you are carrying a vessel of light, perhaps a lantern, perhaps a flame cupped between your hands. As you walk through a darkened hall, figures approach you, some with reverence, others with anger. Some try to blow out your flame, others try to take it for themselves. The dream is not about them, it is about you. Will you keep walking? Will you protect that light even when the wind of judgment and misunderstanding blows? Will you dare to shine? Knowing that not everyone will understand. This is the dream of your life. Every encounter is another figure in that hall, another test of your resolve. When you feel the sting of resentment, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, what is mine to carry and what is not? You are not obligated to absorb the shadow that others cast. You are not required to make them comfortable with your presence. In truth, the discomfort they feel is often the first step of their own awakening. Your role is not to ease that pain, but to remain authentic, to be the living example of what it means to feel, to love, to exist without masks. And yes, this may make you a target, but it also makes you a catalyst. People remember those who challenge them to see more deeply. Even if they resist it at first, it is essential that you learn the art of energetic boundaries. This is not about building walls, but about cultivating a strong inner center. When your center is strong, you can feel deeply without being overwhelmed. You can love without losing yourself. You can give without being depleted. Boundaries are not barriers. They are the natural edges of your soul's garden. They tell others, this is where I end, and you begin, I can hold space for you, but I will not carry what is not mine. When you live this way, resentment loses its power over you. It becomes like a passing storm, loud, perhaps, but incapable of extinguishing your flame. I want you to remember this. Your light does not need permission. It does not need to be justified or explained. It is the result of your journey, of every shadow you have faced and every wound you have healed. Those who resent it are, in a way, acknowledging its power, even if they do so unconsciously. Let their reactions be what they are, reflections of their own path. Your task is simply to keep walking, to keep becoming, to keep deepening into the mystery of who you are. In the end, the reason empaths attract people who secretly resent their light is not because there is something wrong with the empath. It is because the empath is a living reminder of what is possible: authenticity, vulnerability, and wholeness. These qualities are rare in a world that prizes masks and facades. And when people see someone who dares to live without those masks, they are forced to confront their own fear of being real. Some will run from that confrontation. Some will attack it, but others, the ones who are ready, will be inspired. They will see your light and think, perhaps I can shine too. And so I leave you with this final thought. Do not be afraid of the resentment you encounter. It is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are shining. It is a sign that your very being is awakening something in the world around you. And if the world resists, let it resist. Your task is not to fight the darkness, but to be so completely yourself that the darkness cannot help but notice. Stand in your light. Hold your flame high. Walk the path of the soul with both courage and tenderness, for the world needs what you carry, even if it does not always welcome it. The time will come when even those who resent your light will see that it was not a threat, but a gift, a mirror of their own unclaimed radiance.